Teahouse on a Sunday. It's a nice day out, beautiful day out here in LA. Happy to have some tea with you guys, catch up, see how you're doing, tell some stories about my recent trip to China. Whatever we want to do. Good to see y'all here. Roman Spec, tough. How you doing? How's it going, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's up, Joshua Food Guy? How you doing? Vimos, hey, hello. I got a couple different live streams running here, so if I'm answering questions that are not on your screen, I apologize for that. But yeah, it's great to see everybody. I'm just going to be having some tea today. We have a sale actually right now on the shop. It's July 4th. If you go to the website, you can get the Moonlight White tea and the Anji Red tea at a discount. So that is why I'm going to be drinking the Moonlight White. How's it going, everybody? Hey T boy from Dun Dun. Nice to see you. What's good from the Philippines? Welcome to our friends in the Philippines. Congratulations on their win at Wimbledon yesterday in the women's tennis. I saw the highlights of that match. It was pretty awesome. Cheers, everybody. Hello from Shenyang. We got some people coming in from China. Very cool. Ole said, just try the oolong. It was so good. Thank you so much. Momo is watching. Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. We are good. We are ready to go. First question from Mark. I missed the name, but it says, what tea is good for beginners? And what we're drinking today is actually, I recommend a good tea for beginners. I'm going to show you. This is the white tea chocolate bar, which it comes in this nice packet. We worked really hard on the packaging. And it opens up, and each one of these packets has 2 bars in it. So this is what it looks like when they're full, and this is the one where I've already drunk, everything but 2 pieces. But you can see inside here, the full one is just 6 pieces like this, and it's a Moonlight White. It's called a chocolate bar because it snaps apart like pieces of a chocolate bar. And one of these is a good session. It's one of the reasons I say it's good for beginners is because, bam, you're ready to go. This is all you need. This is what you're making. It's already set up. Cheers, everybody. Let's keep going with questions. Somebody said, oh, I just ordered this today, so glad you can try it. Yeah, this is great. So you'll be able to see what you're doing. Welcome. We have Eric says, love the tea, and Sister I. Thank you so much. She works so hard. Sister I is one of our tea farmers, for people who don't know, and she makes amazing tea. And I'm very glad to be able to have a pretty extensive collection of her teas on the website right now. It kind of came on like 1 or 2 at a time. We started with 4. We started with a 4-pack sampler with hers, and then people just loved it, and so we just kept going. So we're gonna make this. Question over here. I ordered the multi-pack tin, and I loved it. Excellent. Where do I get the tea table where your pets are on? This is all on my shop. You can find them on the TikTok shop, or you can find them on jessiesteahouse.com. So it's all on there. We have a lot of different options, but I'll make the tea pets kind of sitting out towards you guys because this is the only polite thing to do. Lots of questions over here in the comments over here. Hey, it's my bro Jesse. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. I'm actually really glad to be back in the States. I was in China for 78 days, which was a lot of fun. I went to a lot of tea mountains looking for tea for you guys, or working on new tea equipment for you guys. Doing a lot of tea work, but also it was very intense. I was living out of a suitcase for 78 days. I was in cities, up in the mountains, a lot of long car rides, a lot of plane flights, a lot of going to the airport, a lot of sitting at the airport. Just flying economy on like Chinese airlines. Yeah. So it was very intense, and I'm glad to kind of be back and a little bit more relaxed, and be able to do the July 4th holiday at home. So questions over here from Marie. I can't read that. Maurice Martau. I can't quite read it. Do you ship to Europe? Even better, I have a warehouse in the Netherlands. So if you go to my website, there's a flag on the top corner. It should automatically change to the EU flag. But you can change the flag on the top corner of the website to the EU, and you'll be able to see all this stuff that's in the Netherlands already ready to go. The EU selection is not as big as the USA one because of the regulations, but there's still a lot there, and we do have tea tables and all that sort of stuff there. That will save you, so no tariff and local shipping. which is why we did all the work to open it up in there for you guys. So let me talk about the tea we're gonna make. So this is Moonlight White tea. It's called Moonlight White because, as you can see, the actual tea itself is a varietal that has these white hairs, but only on one side of the leaf. And then on the other side of the leaf, it is dark. And you can see that darkness over there. That darkness is just the other side of the leaf. And as this tea ages, it gets darker and darker, but the white parts stays white, hence Moonlight White. If you're like, that's tea, it looks like a piece of cake or whatever. Like, it's actually pressed. So the way that we do this is that we press the tea leaves into the chocolate bar shape so that you can conveniently just tear one out. The pressing of tea in China is actually very traditional. The chocolate bar shape is relatively new, but the pressing of tea, white tea, into cakes has been happening for a long time. I believe they got it from the pu'er tea people. Pu'er tea, obviously, if you have seen some, like, bigger cakes of tea, these are kind of like what the big ones look like when they're not pressed in chocolate bar shape. They look like this. You can see but originally they started pressing tea because, the best tea is grown way up in the mountains, away from people, ideally from wild trees. And those tea leaves have to be shipped. And in order to ship back in the time when you only had donkeys, you need to get as much tea into one donkey as possible. And so people would press the tea into these shapes, into the discs, so that they could transport more of them on what they called the Teahouse Road trading route, which went from Yunnan in southwest China on the border of Myanmar and Thailand and Vietnam and all these countries, and it would go up through Tibet, and they would trade tea for horses. And of course other things. It's like the Silk Road. It's just kind of not as famous in the West because it didn't go all the way to the West. But the Teahouse Road trading route was a very big trading route in Asia for a long time. And this tea actually is from Yunnan, from where that place started. So like all of that Teahouse Road trading stuff from Yunnan up into Tibet, this is the Yunnan white tea. A lot of white teas that you see, you hear like Shoumei, Gomei, Baimudan, or white peony, silver needle. These are grades of Fujianese white tea. It's from a different province. This tea is it's relevant that it's from Yunnan for a couple of reasons. One, the terroir is different, it's just going to taste different. But also the varietals of the tea tree that grow in Yunnan tend to be like bolder and kind of like more strong. And when produces a white tea, it produces like a very kind of like energetic and like, powerful white tea, as opposed to maybe you've had white tea before and it's just kind of like, it's floral and it's nice, but there's not a lot there. This has like kind of a lot more there. But because they keep the buds and the leaves together, you get both fragrance and the deeper flavor, which one of the reasons I really like Moonlight White tea and just Yunnan white tea in general. So optional, you can even sub break it into two pieces before you put it in there, just so it steeps a little bit quicker. We're going to give it a first wash steep. With your green tea, you don't need a wash steep because green tea only gets like 3 to 5 steeps or something like that. With this white tea, where this piece is going to be able to make tea, 8, 10, 12 steeps, we can do a little bit of a wash steep to allow the tea to actually open. And you can see here, it's should be able to see in there a little bit. It's just starting to open up. And it's going to take a little bit of time because it's pressed. The tea being pressed doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means that that the tea is pressed and it needs a little bit more time to open up. If you don't press it too tight, this is more convenient. Sometimes they press them too tight, and it's a big pet peeve of mine because then it just takes forever to open up and it's impossible to get out of the cake. We press these as lightly as we could so that it does actually get to opening up sooner rather than later. Okay, that is a whole bunch of questions and a whole bunch of explanation, and hopefully you guys took something out of that. Cheers. Yeah, so I really like kind of the fruitiness of this tea. You can take a sniff off of the lid there. Questions over here. We got a lot of questions. Could you use cheese as a base under your tea table? I think When I say you mean what I am considering and wonder what you think, I have no idea what you're considering. Sometimes maybe I should read the comments before I read the comments. Foxy Soxy Jen says, "You got me into Kung Fu and now I'm counted on chill vibes and hangover prevention." Nice. That's the way to do it. Glad to be able. I've got a lot of people saying I helped get them into tea, so cheers. I appreciate that. So look at the color of this first wash. I'm gonna actually save a little bit so I can show you guys a comparison later. But the reason that we do this first wash is because the tea is not fully open yet. This color is much lighter than what we're gonna get later, and I'm gonna give some tea to Xander and Chonky Horse. That boy thick. That boy thick. I want to leave that here for you guys so you can have a comparison, or maybe it'll look better over here. So I'm going to leave that here so you guys can have a comparison for just a little bit. And now we're going back in with the second steep. Second steep is still going to be a little bit light because this thing is not opened all the way. If you have a tea knife or some tongs or whatever, you can also help it along its way by breaking it up a little. Cheers. Questions. There's a lot of questions in the chat that I have not mentioned. By the way, if you ask a question and I haven't gotten to it, I apologize. Just ask it again. Where we got? Jesse, out of curiosity, any updates on Sisterized tea flower resin becoming a product on the site? A great question. So for those of you who watched my video about a month ago, maybe a little more, I was in the tea mountains in Yunnan with Sister I, our tea farmer, and we boiled down tea tree flowers. The tea tree has flowers, and we boiled that down and made a resin, which was kind of a traditional thing that Sister I makes. And we really don't know how to sell it, though. I'd love to sell it, but I don't know how to package it because it's so sticky. We can't cut it into little pieces like we do with the rest of our tea resin. And some people have even suggested that we've gotten a lot of like curious things. My first thought was maybe I should get, whatever, a porcelain cup, and then we could fill the porcelain cup and then sell it inside the porcelain cup, which would be cool because then you get a cup at the end of it. The problem is that still requires you to dig it out, which is not ideal. It also means that we need to find a way of like keeping a freshness seal on top of a porcelain cup, which is not really what porcelain cups are meant to do. So that's been a challenge. People saying we should put it in a toothpaste tube, which I think that's kind of a cool idea, but as far as I know, no one has ever tried to package tea resin or tea flower resin in a toothpaste tube. It's not even clear to me whether it's possible. So basically, we would love to do it, and we've actually gotten some good advice from you guys on how to do it, but it's a little bit down the road, I think, because it's the packaging situation is not easy. No one in the world sells this, so we have nowhere to go to look for where to get it. It's something they make on the mountain for themselves, which is again why it'd be great to have it. By the way, here's our second steep. Very, very nice, very pretty, already getting darker. Look at how clean and clear it is. Oh, I love it. Check that out. So clean. Get the light on it. It's a little tough to get the light for different angles, but like just very, very clean. By the way, this is on sale today, just for today, because of the July 4th holiday. So happy 250th birthday to America. That looks great. Very good. And you can see already we're getting a little bit of a color difference. One is darker. It's a little bit tricky to tell unless you look at it straight, but this is kind of like a yellow and this is almost like an orange. And it's not because of my hand being in the background. They actually are different colors. Very, very cool. There we go. People saying they sell terrible tea resin on Amazon Bitter. Yes. So here's the thing about the tea resin. When I launched the tea resin in 2023, I think it was, or 23 or 24? I think it was 24. We launched the tea resin. No, we had it before. We launched the tea resin sampler in 24. We had the tea resin in 23. Nobody in the West was selling tea resin. And the other thing was that even in China, tea resin is not like a hugely like mainstream thing. But one of the reasons I didn't sell it earlier, even though I had had it during my time living in China, I lived in China for 10 years. I had tea resin before. But the reason I didn't immediately put it on the site, even though I knew people would like it, or the form factor people would like it, is because I couldn't find any good stuff. It was all bad. No matter where I went, it was bad. It was bitter. It was gross. It was just not good. And it wasn't until I found a farmer that actually made it herself, basically in her backyard, that I was like, that's good. That's actually what I want. And then we refined that recipe and then made that recipe with her leaves at a little bit of a bigger scale. And that is what's in the thing that's on the shop. So, like, really, really cool that we were able to do that. And I think that there's a reason, again, why the prices are what they are. It's what it costs us to produce the thing. You can get it cheaper, like anything. Like you can get tea cheaper or porcelain cheaper, anything. If you just don't have good quality or you don't care about, like, the fact that people aren't paying their taxes and tariffs and stuff like that, it can be cheaper. But I think that for the quality that we have, the price is really good. It's $1 a resin, so it's nice. Cheers. Hmm. Lots of questions here. Sorry about the delays. Vanessa, any ETA on the new tea pre-orders? Yeah, so the green tea pre-orders, by the way, they were packed, they were sent to the port, then they waited for 3 weeks while they inspected the entire boat. So unfortunately, after all of our preparation and rushing to try to get it to people as soon as possible, they inspected the boat and it delayed everything by 3 weeks. So that being said, they've already been on the ocean. I believe mid July is the fastest it can get here. But I'm hoping that by the end of July we'll have them all shipped out in all the markets. They're going to be arriving in different markets at slightly different times. If it's within a day or two or three, I might just delay it so we can have a big launch. But generally speaking, I think I'm going to send them when I get them. So if they arrive first in the EU, I think I'm just going to send the EU customers theirs first, and then vice versa. If it arrives in Canada first, I'll send the Canadians. We import to all the markets separately, so you guys don't have to pay any US tariffs, and so you get like cheaper shipping. So, and for the US customers, we have the big boat coming. I believe the date I saw was July 19th, which I remember because it's my birthday. But again, that's the date for it to get to the port. If there's no issue, we can get it off of the boat and then into the warehouse, hopefully by the end of July. But I don't think it's going to be that much later than that, even if it's later than that. So I do appreciate everybody's patience with it. The inspection was not ideal. And again, at any time, if you want to cancel your pre-order, just email us and we'll refund your pre-order. The point of the pre-order is that you guys get a free tea pet with it. And also it is really helpful to me because the nature of the green tea market is you need to know before the harvest how much you want, and you can't really buy it afterwards. You need to make sure that you tell them ahead of time because the green tea boom is so big in China and the Western market is so like inconceivably small compared to them that we have like no leverage at all about anything. We need to tell them exactly what we want ahead of time. We need to pay ahead of time. There's we just have to deal with the Chinese market. But the result of that is you get the type of green tea that was intended for the Chinese market, not intended for like Western grocery store shelves or even Asian grocery store shelves, which is still a grocery store. At the end of the day, even an Asian grocery store, like grocery stores, their margins are like very, very thin. You don't expect super high quality stuff in terms of like a specialty item like tea coming from an Asian grocery store. Oh, that's so good. Let's have some more. Great questions over here. What about delivering to the Middle East, especially GCC countries? I would love to do a Middle East warehouse, but like we just don't have the numbers there to do it right now. But you can go to the American shop and the EU shop and see which of them are cheaper for shipping to the Middle East because we can ship to the Middle East. I've done it before. We have customers in Qatar. We have had customers in Saudi Arabia. We have customers in Dubai. So generally people tend to buy a bunch of stuff at once because the shipping's expensive. But if you buy a bunch of stuff, it kind of all flattens out a bit. But would be fun. Questions over here from that one guy. Do you prefer the tea leaves or the resins? I prefer the tea leaves. I mean, I drink the tea resin quite a lot actually, but I use it. I basically drink it on planes, trains, automobiles. Like if I'm in a place where I really can't make tea, but I've got a car ride or something like that, or if I'm you know, maybe doing my radio show and I don't want to be like making tea while I'm on the radio, that's a good opportunity for it. But basically, any chance I have to actually make like tea, I will. That being said, like I'm a tea guy. Like everybody should make tea the way that is good for them. Like I'm sure I have customers that only buy the tea resin, they only make the tea resin, and that's still great because you're still having better tea than you would get from a tea bag, and I think you're still getting most importantly just like the leaves are better, the nutrients are better, everything's better about it because it actually comes from Sister I and her farm in Yunnan as opposed from some like factory farm somewhere in say India or Kenya most likely. So the nutrients that you get from that sort of tea is going to be much better. And again, here, look at this beautiful color. Show you the comparison. Oh, the other good thing about these Yunnan white teas is I almost taste like I always get chocolate. I always get like a big. This may be an American reference, but chocolate Tootsie Pop. I always get like chocolate Tootsie Pop flavor out of this Yunnan white tea, which is kind of funny. It's like white tea generally you don't think of it being very chocolatey, but I think it's here we go. Cheers, everybody. And again, showing a comparison to the first steep. Again, people saying, why do you wash the first steep? You can see the difference in the color between the two steeps. This is steep 3, this is steep 1. Yeah, you can see that. Questions over here. Benanja says, I'm new to tea culture and would love to know what teas you recommend for sweet tea lovers. Actually, today is your lucky day because on the site we have a sale of 2 of the ones that I would both recommend. One of them is the white tea that we're drinking right now. It's called the Moonlight White Tea. So you can go and search up Moonlight White on the site or on the TikTok shop. Moonlight White Tea. That's one that's really good as we're drinking right now. It has a little bit of like that funk or that chocolatey flavor to it, but very sweet. Definitely does not need any sugar. And then the second one is the other one that's on sale, which is actually a lot of people like it's called the Anji Red Tea. So ANJI Anji Red Tea. And that's just like a very sweet red tea. So if you think of like tea, like, you know, Lipton or whatever, I don't know, like, you know, a tea bag, black tea. In Chinese, they call that red tea. And the Anji is a very sweet variety of that. It's just very sweet, very clean, very easy drinking. It's not super, it's not bitter. It's not super bold. It's kind of more like honey sweet. Those would both be great options for you. Any green tea as well is going to be pretty good. We have our 2025 spring green tea still in the market, and that's at a discount. I believe it's already discounted now because we have the new ones coming soon. By the way, thank you, Like Copper, for the heart. Appreciate it. So those are good options. But I think the main thing to remember, and then for any tea you have, whether it's, you know, whatever it is, if you make your tea at a slightly lower temperature, you will get a sweeter flavor. You won't get as much flavor, but it will be sweeter. So the heat really brings out the flavor in the tea. But also the chemical compounds that can add bitterness or add kind of like tannin, those tend to come out in the hotter parts of the steeping. So if you have the tea made with a slightly lower temperature, it's sweeter. Also, you can cold brew the tea. I've been making some cold brew videos, and cold brew tea tends to come out pretty sweet as well. Cheers, everybody. Great. A lot of questions over here. Do you ship to Iceland? Yes, we can. If you're in the EU common market, you probably don't even have to pay any taxes on it or anything. So just go to the website, search Jesse's Teahouse, go to the website, and then make sure the flag is on the EU. And you'll see the options we have for the EU. You can also get it from the US, but you'll have to pay the international shipping. You just change the flag. Doctor says, hey, Jesse, I know you wanted to do a trip to the EU later this year. Any plans so far? For example, on October's event, a tea festival. Any chance to see you there? I'm trying to figure out if I can fit this in. I took so long in China this last trip that now I'm like kind of wiped out from travel. But I would like to go. I've heard there's a tea festival in Brussels in late September, and then Vienna apparently is the big one. I've never been to either of those. I've never been to Brussels or Vienna. So both of which, as a place to explore and as a tea festival, sound fun to me. Never say never. I'm looking at it. If you know anyone at either of those festivals that I should be in touch with, private message me on Instagram or whatever and let me know because I would love to do it. It would be a lot of fun. Um, Jose Panangua, Jose Panigua says, which of your teas are good to help you sleep? So any tea that's like a true tea leaf tea that comes from the tea tree Camellia sinensis is going to have caffeine, and that makes it not a great tea to sleep drink specifically for sleep. But what you're looking for is usually called an infusion or a tisane. So that's basically something steeped in water that's not tea. And there are some actually that I do like and I recommend that come from the Chinese tradition. This is the Hainanese yellow rosewood. Um, you can search Hainan is an island, Hainanese yellow rosewood. I believe I'm the only one who sells it outside of China. And it's basically leaves from the yellow rosewood tree, which is not a tea tree. It's grown in China for its furniture, and in Hainan, which is this tropical island off the south coast of China, it's basically the same latitude as like Vietnam and Thailand, and then they have this island. These people grow the tree for wood on the island, and then they pick the leaves and they treat them like tea leaves. So they take them, they heat treat them, they ferment them, they roll them, they do all the steps you would do to make a tea leaf, but it's not a tea tree, and so it doesn't have caffeine. And this is legit. I drink this twice a week, 3 times a week, or whatever. It's why there's almost none left in the bag. This is probably the tea that I drink the most compared to our sales on the website because no one knows what it is. No one knows what Hainanese yellow rosewood is. This is my nighttime tea. And it's the best one I found so far. I have some other ones that I'm looking at to maybe add to the site that are non-caffeinated, but we have a pretty small collection of non-caffeinated tea because all true tea is caffeinated. It's just the way it is. If you do want to drink a caffeinated tea though, and you want one with low caffeine or that's good for kind of calming, cooked pu'er, show pu'er, is actually quite good. It is very low caffeine because of the fermentation and the post fermentation process. It degrades some of the caffeine. And then also, it's very good for digestion and it's very kind of rich and earthy. And that's also not a bad tea to drink before you go to bed as long as you don't drink tons of it. So there we go. Any word on the roasted oolongs? Thanks. So, well, one, we have the roasted Iron Goddess of oolong that's back in stock. All the Taiwanese oolongs are coming back into stock as well, probably in about 2 months. It was really the Taiwanese tea situation has kind of been a nightmare. The tea is always great, but the problem is there's only one packaging plant in all of Taiwan. And so that one packaging company just didn't want to make like good packaging like we make. They just wanted us to have like a tourist box and put it in there. And we couldn't label it and we couldn't put our steeping instructions on it. And they just did not want to work with us. And so we wound up having to eventually just like break off ties with the packing company, go and find a company in Shanghai, of all places, that does printing. And we printed it and we sent it on a boat from Shanghai to Taipei. It took time to design it. It took time to print it. It took time to ship it. It took time for them to get the packaging out of the port. And just because this one packaging company didn't want to work with us in Taiwan, our Taiwan restock has been delayed since like January. Like we were making these plans in January. It drives me crazy. But they will be back on before the end of the year. We're going to get restocked and everything. And actually, I think it'll be even better because our previous Taiwan tea sampler had 4 teas in it and it was 50 US dollars. We got like a lot of each tea and we're replacing it with a 7 Taiwanese tea sampler that has 10 grams of each. So like 2 sessions of each. But basically you can try our entire Taiwan line without needing to buy too much of it in any way at all. The price is going to be cheaper than $50. So you'll get more teas for less money. You'll get less tea, but you can just decide which ones you like and come back and get those. And so I think that's the best way forward because that way you can try the entire Taiwan line and not need to spend, $100, $200 or whatever. You can get, it's probably going to be like $30, $35 or something like that. And that'll allow you to do it all. And because every country in the world has different rules for importing from Taiwan rather than from China, it's actually way easier for me to get it in. It's like a quarter of the work. So hopefully you enjoy that once it actually comes back. It's going to be a lot of fun. Question over here. Love the rosewood tea. I'm so great. Thank you, Shepherd of the Scout. Shepherd the Scout. It's great. I really like it. Any idea when the gourmet white tea balls are coming back? Rich. I'm not sure. I can look that up. Um, the we should get them back in stock. I'm surprised they're out of stock, but we should have made another shipment. They probably are coming. I think we have like 2 or 3 shipments that are supposed to land in July, so it's probably in there. I'd say probably by the end of July. Question first, Nick, milk first or last? So in the Chinese tradition, milk never. So the reason a lot of milk is added to teas in the West is because when tea originally came to the West, it came from China. But then during the Qing dynasty, the Qing emperors forbade any trade except in silver. So basically, the law in China was that if you want to trade tea to the Westerners, you can, but you have to get silver for it. You can't trade goods for goods. And this was an attempt, basically, monetary policy. The emperor wanted silver. Silver was useful and it could be taxed, and it was hard to hide silver, and it was better for the way they wanted to do the trade. However, the British didn't want to give lots of silver to China, so instead they started growing opium, and they traded opium for tea, because if you can't trade good for goods legally, you can trade goods for illegal goods, because you're already breaking the law by trading goods for goods anyway. And people really like opium. So basically, that was the instigation of the Opium Wars, Opium War One, Opium War Two, Electric Boogaloo, multiple opium wars. During this time, the British had a guy named Robert Fortune who went into China, pretended to be a Chinese guy on a boat wearing a hat and an outfit, went way into the inland of China, figured out where the tea plants were, and managed to get living tea plants out of China. And they took them to India and Kenya and Sri Lanka and the British colonies, and they planted them there. He was knighted. He started a tea company called Lipton. They're still around. But unfortunately, for people that really like kind of like sweet tea, like clean tea, the varietals of plants that grow best in India and Kenya and Sri Lanka tend to be more bitter. They're bolder, but more bitter. They have more tannins. And so when that tea started getting to the West, people decided that they should really be mixing sugar, milk, something to kind of like blank out the taste of the tannins. And in China, where this never happened because they just had good tea from the beginning, they never did any of this stuff. So they don't generally mix milk in Chinese tea when it comes to the tea culture. Now, there is also milk tea, but milk tea is like a new kind of like modern dessert. There were people that mixed milk with tea in Chinese history. Usually comes from the borderlands in Tibet. They drink yak milk, yak butter tea, where they dissolve yak butter in the tea. In the Northeast, where the Mongols come from, the horse peoples would drink horse milk tea, or they would drink cow's milk tea. But or sheep's milk tea, I don't know actually. I'm not sure where I know that the milk tea also is done there. But like generally speaking, for people who like try to find really good tea leaves and drink them, in the Chinese tradition, you generally just try to find good leaves and drink them straight up. And you don't usually add anything to it. Although obviously they're regional styles. Some people add orange peel, some people will add like, flowers like jasmine or whatever. But generally speaking, none of these teas need milk. That's for sure. That being said, you're tea time man. So like, I think that a lot of times, one thing I really dislike about the Western tea internet is I feel like there's a lot of people out there telling you how to do it, and if you do it wrong, or if you like the wrong thing, or if you don't make it right, or if you're using the wrong pot or whatever, people get really judgy, and it's one of the reasons why I tend to avoid certain chat rooms about tea stuff and just kind of stay focused on my own, is because I just don't feel like it is in spirit with the tea that I learned in China. Like real tea people don't hate on other tea people. It's just the way it is, you know. And this is kind of the perspective I try to take with, you know, I do have the occasional hater, and it's just like as a tea guy in my life, like the great thing about tea is I just get to relax and drink tea and talk about tea and go to the tea mountains and pick good teas for you guys. It's a total waste of my life to worry about haters saying that I'm doing anything wrong. Or, in my opinion, it's a total waste of your life for you to worry that you're making your tea wrong. I think trying to make the tea better and in the way that you want to make it is a good thing, but you shouldn't be worried like you're losing if you make it wrong. But that's just a rant. Um, and it's just my way of what I've learned from my tea teachers. When I look at the people who, you know, tea has really been a great part of their life and they grow tea and they think about tea all the time, very rarely are they like, oh, that person added milk. It's actually oftentimes the opposite. Like Sister I, our tea farmer partner in Yunnan, we just released a 20-minute video on YouTube with like a long interview about her. And she's like, yeah, add tea to the milk, add honey, add whatever you want. She's like, we do it. And it's like, there you go. So do what you want. But again, if it were me and I was just sitting here on a Sunday having tea with you guys, making this tea, which by the way is beautiful. Cheers, everybody. And again, showing a color comparison. Fourth steep now, fifth steep or something like that. And like you can really see the difference in the color between the wash steep and the middle steeps here. And this is again why you wash the tea, is just getting to this faster. You can drink that. It's fine. Ooh, but it's just nowhere near as rich as that. That has like 5 different levels on it compared to the wash steep. So again, the wash steep is good for many things. You can give some to your tea pets, but you know, it's good for what it is. Awesome. Lots of great questions. Jesse, what do you like yellow teas? Oh, damn it. What's going on? You like yellow teas like Huang Ya, and what do you think about yellow teas? Also, Vince McMahon says COVID really fucked this guy up, which is true. The question about yellow tea. So we have a yellow tea that I think is going to come onto the site. I like yellow tea. The problem with yellow tea is that there's kind of 2 problems. One, I find it tends to be over expensive for how good it is, but that's just because it's kind of they don't make a lot of yellow tea. It's an unusual type. You need special like human knowledge to make it. The technique of making it, not a lot of people know it. Not a lot of people do it. You need equipment, and so there just isn't a lot of it. And so compared to other types of tea where there's an enormous market, there just doesn't tend to be yellow tea that's like a good fit for the price. That being said, I found one that I think is pretty damn good, and it'll be in a future subscription box. And then the second reason about the yellow tea is that it's it is, I do like it, but it's not so different from say green tea that I'm like really excited to drink it compared to say green tea. I'd say I'd like to drink it almost in the same way I drink a green tea. It tastes a lot like a green tea, but with something more. In the same way oolong has something more. So it is really good. And it can be really good, but I tend to find that it is overpriced for how good it is. But that's just my take on it. And like, and the other problem, which matters to me but not to you guys, is that they don't, because they don't make a lot of it. You know, it's actually hard for me to find a place where I can get enough for my subscribers. If I'm like, hey, like I need 5,000 bags of 50 grams. 5,000 bags in Chinese tea world is nothing. But even that, you need to like plan a year ahead of time with the farmer. You need to set aside a certain amount. Like they can make more, but like there's not a lot of like random customers coming in and dropping 250 kilos of tea. So like for a lot of teas, like if you want to get like Longjing green tea, there's a lot of Longjing out there. You can go to farmers, you can ask them, hey, how much of this do you have? And they might have 1,000 kilos or 3,000 kilos. And that's like still very good stuff. Like these are not even getting to industrial scale or whatever. But like with yellow tea, you don't just walk in the door of like a tea shop or go to a tea farmer and say, you just have 250 kilos of yellow tea standing around. And so it means that it's just harder. It's like compared to other teas where I can taste it, be like, that's good. I don't need to think too much. You just have it. In order to get the yellow tea on, by which we make no extra money by doing all this extra work, we have to like plan a year in advance. And that's part of the reason why it's taken so long. Of course, for customers, people don't care because like you just go and buy it. But like for me, logistically, I need to think about this stuff now. In a way I didn't when I started the tea company. But now I do. So great questions over here. Questions over here. What's the magic between Taiwan oolongs, and do you think it could be replicated elsewhere? So this is a very interesting question. Um, uh, the what is the magic of the Taiwan teas? For me, it's kind of like, well, one, they're just really tasty. The environment there is really good. The Taiwanese like tea industry has done a very good job of noting every different plant varietal, understanding where different varietals grow better, mixing and like co-breeding new varietals, coming out with things like the Alishan milk oolong, like Jinxuan. This is an oolong with a milky mouthfeel. We have it on the site, although it may be sold out. But like that was created by mixing different varietals of plants. They have great mountains. I think it's really good tea. Is it magic? It depends. I mean, I like every time I go to Taiwan, I have a blast. People are super nice. The quality of life in Taiwan is very high for the money. Again, I'm just a cheapo, so I'm always like, do you get good living for not a lot of money? And you get good living in Taiwan for not a lot of money. It's very refreshing after living in Beijing for all those years to see like baseball and people having elections. It's always fun to be in Taiwan. For me, that's all wrapped up in the tea. But I've also been to Vietnam, to areas of Vietnam where they take Taiwanese varietals of oolong and they grow them at the same altitudes that they're grown in Taiwan in very similar temperature, in very similar situations. And I've been in Vietnam drinking like Taiwanese oolong that was meant to be going to the Taiwan market as fake Taiwanese oolong. There's a lot of fake Taiwanese oolong in Taiwan that comes from Vietnam. And I was sitting there and saying, like, that's not the best Taiwanese oolong I've ever had. But if you told me this was Taiwanese oolong, I would probably believe you. It was really close. So, um, is it magic? I don't know. But basically, terroir, which is the growing environment, the soil, the air, the temperature, the dampness, how much water there is. That's part of it. Two, the technique. The people making the tea have many generations of experience making it. That's one of the things that makes the better Taiwanese oolongs better than what you could find from, say, Vietnam, is that the people have the experience of being able to roll it and make it and just like go through the very complicated oolong process very well. And that experience adds a lot. And then also, I think that there is an element of like craftsmanship still in the Taiwanese oolong community. Taiwan is not huge. They don't produce massive, massive, massive amounts of tea. Similar to as I was saying about yellow tea, like if you want like the most popular varietals of Taiwanese tea, you might be able to walk in somewhere and buy 200 kilos of it. But really, even there, you're really stretching it. Like and for someone like me that's trying to figure out a way that not only can I get the subscribers their tea, but also like, what if they like it? I need more of it. I don't want to buy something where I buy the whole batch and I can't get any more for a year. That really sucks. So like, that is something that needs to be taken into account for me. And like the Taiwanese teas, we're kind of getting up against the limits of what we can do without really good planning. But if we need to, we can plan better. We can go a year ahead of time. And now that we've been selling the Taiwanese tea a little while, we can kind of take a guess of how much tea we're going to need. Whereas when we started, I had no idea. So but yeah, I really like the Taiwanese tea. If you get a chance, I don't know what country you're from, but Americans can go to Taiwan visa free for 30 days. Is it 30 or 90? I think it's 30. I've never spent more than 30 days at a time in Taiwan, but check out the rules. But whatever the situation is, it's much easier than going to mainland China. Mm. Questions over here. Hey, I've been wanting to get into drinking teas, but I don't know where to start as I don't have much money. I would say first of all, the main thing you can do, and it costs nothing, is whatever tea you have, take a moment to just have your tea. Whether you have equipment, even if you're just putting it in a mug, don't just go immediately onto being on your phone and having conversation and like trying to do 10 things while you have your tea. Sit down and have your tea. Find a place where it's really nice. I got this spot over here. I can see the mountains out of the window. I can relax, make the tea well, drink the tea, enjoy the tea. Another thing that I can recommend is that you try some samplers. So I have an 8 tea sampler on my website that's $40. You get 8 teas. I have a 7 coin mini tome. Where's my mini tome? Here it is. 7 coin mini tome. Inside each of these hand wrapped pieces is 7 different types of tea from the same mountain in Sisterized Mountain. This is $25. By weight, you'll pay a little bit more for samplers than you would if you bought like a big cake. But the problem is, if you're new, you don't know what you like yet. You want to try one taste of this tea, note it down. Hey, I really like white teas. I really like green teas. I really like red teas. I really like that red tea, but not that red tea. This is all part of becoming like a tea drinker in the same way that, like, if you like ice cream, you want to try a bunch of flavors of ice cream. You don't know what you're going to like. I think there's a lot of value in these samplers and why I make so many of them, to let people just get in and then trust that if you like it and you do have the money, or you have somebody who's giving you a gift or something like that, you can say, hey, this year for my gift, I know what I want. I want one of those. And then if you really, again, if the prices are just too high, then you can consider other things, like, for instance, going in with a friend, split a bag with a friend. Get a 50-gram bag and divide it into 2. You'll have 5 sessions each, for whatever, $10, 20, $12. It's $1 or something. It's like buying a soda out on the street. It's actually cheaper than that now. If you ever go to whatever, get a thing of boba tea, you're paying $6, $7, $8. That's like 3 sessions of really good tea. So some of this is obviously you can reestablish your tea buying budget to stuff at home. And then also, again, I'm never pretending to be the cheapest person on the market. There is cheaper tea than mine. It's entirely up to you, though, about whether it's going to be any good, because people ask, well, where should I go to buy cheaper tea than yours? I'm like, believe me, if I found tea that was up to my standard, that was cheaper, I'd be buying it and the prices would be lower. The problem with buying cheaper tea is, let's say that, you can buy 1 cake of tea that you know will be good, or 3 that you don't know. Hold on, what's going on? Or let me make it simpler. You can buy 1 cake of tea that you know is good, or 2 that you don't. If let's say you buy the 2 that you don't, and neither of them are good, well, now you don't really want to drink either of them, and you're left kind of with no tea you're excited to drink. If one of them is good and one of them is not, what happens is the one that's not just sits. I have lots of tea, and I'll tell you, once you get past the level I want to drink, all the tea down here just sits. It sits there. It takes up space. If tea wasn't good before it started aging, it's not going to be great after it ages either, even for teas that age. And so what I try to do with the shop is provide a baseline to say, hey, everybody has different tastes. You may not love every single tea on the site, but there is going to be a baseline standard that your money and time is worth it. And if you don't like it, give it to a friend, or something like that. Or try, experiment with it. Use it as the experimental tea when you cold brew and see if you like it cold brewed. Many different things you can do. Try different steeping times and temperatures. Play around with it, because you don't really care what happens to the tea. So I think that I think that there's a lot of things that you can do. And again, go get the tea that you can afford. If you have an Asian supermarket in your area, you're probably more likely to get a baseline standard from them as opposed to anywhere else. But again, tea is the type of tea that is sold as a commodity to Chinese grocery stores from China. It's a grocery store. Their margins are very small. You're not going to get world class stuff from a grocery store, but it could be the middle step on getting to the point where, like, hey, a couple years later, you got a better job, you save some money or whatever. It's not that much money to buy tea, so very, very cool. Questions over here. Hello from Chicago. When is the next subscription box looking like? So I don't give out too much information ahead of time, but I will say that this next box is going to be regionally themed. So it's all tea from one province, and I have a sampler that's coming with multiple teas from that province. I'm not giving you any more information yet, other than to say it's going to be awesome. And I think that we really knocked it out of the park with it. And we single sourced all the tea from one mountain, and we're using it as a way to be able to share the whole province's story. I'm very excited, but I'm not telling you exactly what it is yet. If you want to be in on that, subscribe. And if you want to wait until the thing comes out, it's going to come out in August. Our goal date, as always, is August 1st, but it's gotten very difficult to do international trade in the new reality of the world, and so there's delays, there's tariffs, there's inspections at the port. There's just like random stuff that happens, and so we just can't guarantee a specific delivery date. But we've been working on this box for over a year. I took the first trip to the mountain in August of last year, and it's coming out August of this year. It's a full year's worth of work we put into this box, so I do hope you enjoy it. And if you're not subscribed to the Tea Club, think about it. It's the best deal on the site, and it allows me to run the whole company, because without the subscribers, I would have no baseline. I couldn't develop any new products because I don't know if I'm ever going to sell any. Now I'm like, okay, at least the subscribers will be buying this, so I can just focus on getting the best tea, and then I can go from there. Very good question. Questions over here. When will the Dragon Tea Pet be done? I've been waiting for excitedly from Silver World. They're already done. They're already shipped. They're already on the boat. We actually had so many pre-orders that as we were packing the first batch, we were making a second batch and sending a second batch, and we sent that one on the slow boat and this one on the fast boat. So hopefully they will come together, and we'll be able to do a launch, hopefully in July. But again, part of the pre-order is I can't give you a specific date. That's what it means for it to be a pre-order for us. It's like, if I knew, I would tell you. But it is, as I said, shipping, delays, tariffs, taxes, customs clearance, very difficult to give exact dates. But everything's already on its way. So as soon as it arrives, we're going to get it to you. Questions. I only drink Dancong Yan Cha. What would I enjoy in my shop? We're actually light on Dancong Yan Cha right now. We have a Da Hong Pao on the site. If you're really into Yan Cha, though, I would say wait until we get our Yan Cha sampler going. And there will be a Yan Cha or rock tea sampler at some point. I was just at Wuyi Mountain 4 weeks ago. I tried, must have been like 30 or 40 different types of rock tea, different grades, different qualities, different types. That we're gonna have a really good rock tea setup when it comes out, probably early next year. But in terms of the Dancong, we also don't have a lot of great options. Again, I've been waiting to do it right because I really want to do it right. I want to go to the Phoenix Mountains. I want to actually sit there with the people that grow it. I want to learn about it from the people that do it. And I want to have a taste testing where ideally my whole company is there. Usually for these tea trips to China, I have 4 employees in China. Usually I fly them all out and we stay at a hotel or at the tea mountain with the farmers. And then that way I have not just my opinion, but like all of my team's opinion as well. It's like, in order to do something like Dancong or rock tea really well, that's the way I want to do it. And so that's why we don't have a lot, is because up until last month, I wasn't really able to do that for rock tea, and I still haven't been able to do it for Dunsholm. So unfortunately, I don't have as many selections as I would like for you, but you know, one day it is coming. And also, I don't want to it's something I look forward to go to the Phoenix Mountains. I don't want to, be like, oh, I want to sell something and then just buy a tea that I'm not really into. Because buying a tea for me is a big commitment. I have to buy a lot at once, and so even if some of it sells, and even if we're making money, I have to sit on bags and bags and bags of that stuff before I can change out the tea. Questions? How quickly, Elizabeth Berry asked, how quickly do you recommend using up tea leaves after obtaining them, especially green tea? Green tea is the most specific about these. Generally speaking, you want to drink the green tea in the year that you bought it. So if you buy green tea from the spring of 2025, you want to have drunk it by the time the spring tea from 2026 comes out. Because we're in the West and it takes time to come over, usually that's the summer. So basically, the tea that you're buying this year, have it drunk by the end of next summer. And the reason is just because the green tea will lose its fragrance and its freshness over time. A tea, however, like what we're drinking right now, the white tea, the Moonlight White Tea Chocolate Bar, this stuff is going to age and get better. So you have no time on this. The only thing is to make sure that you just store it in a place where it's not getting blasted by sunlight, where it's cool, and where there are no other strange smells. So don't keep your tea in your spice cabinet. It'll smell like all your spices. You'll lose all of the nice like tea fresh aromas. All the volatile compounds are just going to get like muddied by all the other spices that get added. So that's the main thing to think about for the tea storage. And then some teas, they don't get better or worse. Red tea just generally doesn't get better or worse. White tea ages and gets better. Pu'er ages and gets better. Rock tea, depending on how it's made, it could be the same or it could get better. So a lot of light, fragrant oolongs, also kind of try to use them earlier. If you have like a Alishan, like high mountain oolong that's very light and very crisp, tend to drink that earlier rather than letting it age. Very, very cool. We have Tea and Goldfish says you'll have my money when you do. Oh, thank you. I'm from Teahouse descent, and and Dunsholm is a very special place in my heart. I'm very glad to hear it. It's always good. Little beer in the top. I mean, a lot of these tea traditions are just what the locals drink, and that's part of the fun thing about China. It's so big. It's like with food. Sichuan food is completely different than Beijing food, or is completely different from Shanghai food. It's completely different from Yunnan food. Like China politically has been a united body for a long time, but like culturally, it's very diverse when it comes to food and drink. And the environment is so radically different in different parts of the country, and it yields different tea traditions and different types of tea plants. It's part of why it's so much fun in order to go to these areas. It's also why I don't want to just put up random tea from places I've never been. I don't like doing that. At the very least, obviously, I want to be tasting the tea. But if I can go, like, I can then tell you more stories about what the tea is like, and be more confident I'm getting you guys the right tea. Questions? Hey Jesse, any updates on catching copy type website scammers? I hate to see all the hard work being profited by others, especially those with nefarious intentions. Thank you so much. And that is from Kakin7842. For those of you who don't know, there are a bunch of fakos on the websites right now. Like my website is jessie'steahouse.com. There are people who spell Jesse with a Y instead of an E, and then they make a fake website and they try to copy all my stuff. As far as I know, there are 5 of them out there right now. I'm not going to tell you what they are because I don't want you to go into them. But just make sure it's my actual site or my actual page you're buying from. It's frustrating, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I grew up as a business person in China because I moved there right after college. And so my early 20s, when I was learning how do these things get done, even though I was not a tea person or a business person at that time, like one thing you learn when you like deal with the Chinese version of capitalism is that you cannot have a plan that relies on intellectual property. Your thing has to be uncopyable for other reasons other than intellectual property. because your intellectual property will not be protected even within China. Forget Chinese people making, like, knocking off a foreign company. There's no protection, and don't expect any protection. And a good plan accounts for the fact that you won't be protected. So um, I'm trying a bunch of stuff. I'm actually going to make a video about this. One thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to come up with more unique products. So this is actually launching in August, but it's an example of that. We're going to be launching an 8 incense sampler. So there's going to be an incense line as well. And the incense is incense that we put together in this sampler. There is no other product like it because no one else is selling this stuff. And we have incense from this one company. They have a lot of great incense, but they have tons of it, many different types. And then these also are going to come in individual sizes too, where you can get Indian Old Arbor sandalwood, and it has all the incense and stuff in there, along with a little hole in the cellar thing right there. So just like just more customization, like, if they put the Jesse Teahouse logo on it and all that stuff, that's something I actually might be able to punish them for, or at least get the thing removed. So one of it is just more customization, making sure that our items really are unique. The other is like leaning into stuff like, for instance, like we're not going to be using AI in our artwork. All the other cheapo people that are copying are going to make sloppy AI tea stuff. We're not going to use any AI in the artwork. We're hiring artists to do the work. We're also looking back into historical references for stuff that is historical art that we have the ability to use without copyright, or to find artists that have already made art and we could buy the copyright to be able to use it. That's going to help us stand out, I hope, in the long run, as the copycats just go cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. And then there's also other things that we're doing where I think part of the reason why the copycats succeed is like the stuff is expensive. And so a lot of people, whether it's whatever you want to talk about, anything that you could get a cheaper version of, that like there's going to be some people who just don't care. And so one thing that I'm doing though is I'm working to develop more tea equipment and teas that are on the lower end of my price spectrum, which is still going to be more expensive than the cheapest stuff on Amazon. But I think I can be significantly better than the cheap stuff on Amazon that they're knocking me off for not that much more money. But I can't get into a fight where I just race these guys to the bottom because they're, factory bosses in Doha, and they're sending their stuff in and they're not paying their tariffs and they're not paying their taxes, and they don't have to pay for American storage, and they don't pay for American workers, and they don't pay for healthcare for their employees. And it's just a lot of stuff we just can't compete. But if we raise the price not even that much and improve the materials, spend more money on the materials to come up with a product that the knockoff people can't get because they don't have a real following. They don't have people who are willing to spend an extra $20 to make it better. That's kind of my goal, is to try to have more products come out like that, and we're going to have a bunch of them coming out a bunch of them coming out in the holiday season. We have a lot of stuff we started working on in April, and we're only going to see it in November. So I'm very excited for that. Really cool stuff that's in the pipeline. So we will go from that. So hopefully some of that works. AI Science Fi says, do you ship to Germany? Yes, go to my website. Just search Jesse's Teahouse on the internet. And when you go on there, the website in the top corner, you should see an EU flag. And if you don't see the EU flag, go change the flag to the EU. And all that stuff is in the Netherlands. Germany is our biggest customer in the EU. So thank you so much to our German tea friends, who I'll hopefully be able to see in September or October. I'm really hoping to be able to make a trip out to Europe. It would be fun. People saying Temu tea, not so good. Again, I'm not going to be a hater and say it's all bad. I will say you have no idea whether it's good. And so you might have to try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to find the one you want. And even the one that you want, it's not going to be super high quality, because the people who are making tea to put it on Temu are not really interested in your long-term being a customer. They're not doing the extra work and taking the extra step to make sure that everything is good. They're not going to have customer service in English. I hire Americans and Canadians to do actual English language customer service. We have 4 people on that team now, answering emails and text messages and managing our Discord. Like, I really want to make it so that people can get into tea and they're taken care of. Questions over here. How do I convince my dad that the Bluestone tea table is a good idea? Well, it's definitely a good idea because look at this. Maybe, you know, if you have a birthday coming up or a holiday or something like that, maybe it's a good example. But I think you'd say like, hey, Dad, I want to have tea with you. Let's get this nice tea table. Let's sit down. Let's make tea. Let's talk. Let's hang out. If I were a dad and my kid was like, hey, I want to spend more time with you. Can we do it this way? You know, so I think that's a way to do it. Maybe you could even come up with a way to split the cost somehow. You say like, hey, I'll pay half, you pay half, or you know, I'll do some extra, you know, help you out somehow. Figure out a way to get a little bit of extra cash and get your dad in on it. But a couple ideas, just some ideas. Bluestone table is really nice. It's the one we're using right now. Cheers. I'm gonna do a couple more minutes. I'm gonna start a timer. I'm gonna do a couple more minutes and then get going. Any idea when we'll have more Sister Eyes stuff like the Black Beauty, White and Reds for the EU? Yeah, we have another shipment of Sister Eyes coming, I believe, in like a week or something like that. We have one that's coming in July. So again, it could get caught in customs, but like from my understanding, we do have that new shipment coming in, and it won't be that long. So again, I'm very happy for, thank you again for the support of our customers in the EU because I spent a lot of time and energy and money trying to figure out how to open that warehouse. And I think we're like barely profitable now, but it's been like 2 years of this effort. And again, I did it not just because, you know, it's not even a business thing. I'm just like the last two years or so, I've just been really pissed off by the closing off of the world and how, you know, a small group of powerful people that are interested in getting everybody to fight each other have decided to take all of the roads and the paths of interconnection that we've built between each other and destroyed them or added taxes or added paperwork or just made it hard for us to talk to each other. And I just hate it. And I don't want to live in a closed off world. I want to live in a world where if I find good tea, I can get it to anyone. Because if you were sitting here at this table, I wouldn't ask you to see your passport before I made you the tea. I would make you the tea. And it turns out to be a lot more difficult than that to actually do business in all these different countries. There's laws, there's rules, there's regulations, and then there's all that other stuff. But I think it's a worthwhile thing to do just because this is the, like, you know, what kind of world are we living in if it's 2026 and we can't get people the good tea because of stupid, just like, you know, monkey brain conflict. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. California says, I really want to say, I really appreciate bringing tea culture to the U.S. Thanks so much. I mean, if I can be a small part in that, it's a big accomplishment. So even if it's only just for the people on the stream now, I do appreciate it. I'm very happy to sit here and drink tea all day with you. As much as you guys are enjoying it, I'm not suffering over here. I'm having a great time. Questions that, gosh, thank you so much for making the EU warehouse. Check out what's there. It's in the Netherlands. Should be cheap shipping, easy, fast. There will be no tariffs from the US because we import it directly to the EU. Question over here. Does the Strait of Hormuz being closed affect the shipping of the products? It affected the oil prices. So the shipping is about 40% more expensive now than it was earlier this year. So right now we're just eating it. I don't really have a good way to I could raise the prices, but my hope is that they'll go back down. But yeah, I don't know. Right now we're just eating the extra cost from the shipping, or for new products that were shipped and they're coming on for the first time ever, they'll reflect the new shipping price and then maybe I can decrease the price later. Everything on the website, I sometimes see people randomly on the internet being like, oh, his markups are too high. I have the same markup for everything. I just figure out what it costs for me to take it. I add a percentage. That percentage has to cover everything else outside of the physical tea. So it is hard sometimes to be very, very precise. But if we wind up making extra profit on an item, I tend to lower the price or discount it. If we wind up, selling more than I expected, great. Then the business prospers and we can expand. But like, there's no tea that's like I'm buying for super cheap and selling for super expensive. Everything is basically just tied to how much it cost me to get it to you. And if it costs more because of the shipping or taxes or tariffs or oil, the price goes up. And as much as I want to give you guys the cheapest price possible, as a business person, honestly, like there are many things that I would feel bad if I did them poorly. If the price of oil goes up, I just got to raise the price. There's really nothing else to do about it. If the price of oil goes down, I'd be more than willing to lower the price. That is the biggest impact that it's had so far. And I hope I don't need to make adjustments to that percentage to add more because the shipping is going up. But we'll see what has to be done. It is really annoying, especially like some of these products, like the products that are the August subscription box. I did all my math for them last August based off of last August shipping prices. 40% rise is pretty significant. Like it's probably going to wind up being in the cost of not the subscribers tea, because the subscribers tea is locked down in terms of the price, but the individual items are probably going to be another extra bit of money because of the increase in prices. Elizabeth Berry says, as a tea lover, finding your teas has been so amazing. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoy your teas. Vanessa asks, can you explain what rock tea is? Yes. So rock tea, do I have any near me? I have so much rock tea in the house now because, here's some Dahlia Pop. Give you a little bit of rock tea. And this is, although this is a little crushed up because it's an older bag of mine, but so rock tea is a very dark, roasty oolong tea. It's called rock tea because it grows traditionally on the rocky sides of mountains in the Wuyi Mountain area. To be true rock tea, it has to come from the Wuyi Mountains. It's a little bit like champagne. It has to come from an area. It has kind of a very minerally characteristic because of all the rocks that it's growing in. I've heard that the roots are able to get through the stony soil a little bit deeper and get more nutrients because of it. And the Wuyi Mountain, if you haven't seen my videos from there that I took in both April and in May, go back and watch them because Wuyi Mountain is beautiful. It's a protected nature area. It's been a national park in China since like the 70s, I think. So like there's a huge amount of land that has been protected. And it's just one of the most beautiful places on earth. And when you have that sort of biodiversity in the plant life, and when you have that sort of growing environment for the tea, you come out with really great tea. And so we're working on getting some rock tea onto the website, probably in a subscription box, probably in a sampler, probably early next year. The answer to that question. Questions over here. When will the UK shop see a restock? I'm really sorry for all the UK customers. The customs in the UK are the worst I've ever dealt with. We have a shipment from November of last year that they have had stuck in customs since November. And we don't feel safe shipping anything more until they tell us whether we're going to get it through. We have a giant shipment of tea. Everything we've wanted to send to the UK in the last 9 months is waiting, ready to go in a warehouse in China. And we just can't get them to tell us whether they will let it through or not. It's horrible. It's like every time we prepare this very long list, then we need to prepare this very specialized form, whole bunch of different forms. They have to have the originals of those forms. We can't scan them, we can't fax them, we can't attach them to an email. They need us to send the originals of those forms to England to review, to then send back the originals saying that we are in compliance with all the things. The problem is the UK doesn't import a lot of tea from China, and I don't even think the UK people know what they're doing, because every time there's a question, everything has to be communicated first to the customs clearance, then to us, then to Chinese customs, then to the farmer, then to all this way back around to answer any question. They ask a bunch of questions. At the end of all this process, we've done all this work, then we can send the original files back. Then we can go to the Chinese customs clearance. The whole problem is we're doing it all legally. And if you just, again, I just find it so hard to believe that there might be one or two vendors in the UK that are doing this legally. I find it hard to believe any of the tea in China from the that goes into the UK is like fully legal, because it's like it's so annoying. And at the end of it, we sent over tea and they still destroyed it because we didn't click a box properly. And they didn't give us any time to adjust it. They didn't care whether it was actually safe. They destroyed the tea anyway. 35 kilos, I believe, of one of our teas was destroyed. Um, I'm this close from like just saying, hey, UK gets tea equipment, UK gets Taiwanese teas, and the mainland teas you have to come from the EU, because it's just been like it's been a money pit. We've not made our money back in the UK, not by a long shot. It's been stress for my team. It's been horrible. All of this is to say, I don't know. I did all my work. I sourced the teas that are fit the UK things. I paid for the chemical pesticide test and the lead testing. I paid to have it stored for months while we figured this out. I paid to have everything ready to go. I'm going to pay for the shipping when it happens and the custom clearance when it happens. But like the ineptitude of the UK customs when it comes to this, and to be honest, the Chinese customs too, because they don't know how to do it with the UK, because no one apparently ships this legally. This is what I'm finding out. No one, like, I want to get into it, but we're getting calls from customs that make it seem as if they've never done this before. And it's really shocking to me that they've never done a tea shipment from that port to the UK. But this is the impression I'm getting, is that none of it's done legally and all of it's smuggled, or a huge amount of it's smuggled, because it's unbelievably frustrating. And then Brexit made everything more difficult because some of the laws in the UK are the same as the EU and some of them are different, and the websites are not updated frequently. It's just a total mess. So my goal is eventually we will do it, because UK people love their tea. That was the thing. When I went to London, I did an event at SOAS, and we had 70 people show up to have tea with me. I went to Oxford. We did a event with the Oxford Tea Society. Again, 70 students at Oxford showed up to have tea with me. Like, the UK people have a real great tea culture, and also I just love UK humor and comedy shows as a comedian myself. Like, I just love the UK stuff. I'm a big soccer fan, even outside of the World Cup. I grew up watching Arsenal on TV. Like, I want to have this work with the UK. I want to have an excuse to go to the UK more often. But I just don't know. Um, when we get the shipment in, there's a whole like documentary I'm not even sharing with you about the ineptitude of the customs broker that told us they could do it and failed, and then the reason why they failed is so stupid, and it's cost us half a year and a huge amount of money. All this is to say, I don't know. I don't give up on this stuff easily. Um, it's not even a money reason at this point. It's just like we got to get the UK people their tea. So sorry to go on a rant, but the answer is I don't know. In the meantime, the UK subscriptions are being filled from the USA, but we can't do that forever, because by the time we pay for we're going to be reimbursing all our UK subscribers for the tariffs and the international shipping, because they subscribed thinking they would get it from the UK and not pay those, and I'm going to pay them back. But when I pay that back, we don't make any money from it at all. So we will figure this out, but it's gonna be crazy. Um, I don't know. People are mentioning some other UK people that in the chat. I don't know how they do it. I don't know. I've seen items on that shop that I just don't know how they got it through. I'm not saying anything bad at all about how they do it. I just don't know. And it's a trade secret. I can't call them up and ask them, how do you do this so I can compete in your market? That's not a polite thing to say. I don't personally see myself as competing with anybody. I think tea is so small. Like, tea can get 100 times bigger before I'm competing with any other tea people. I think the competition right now is against the tea bag and against the crappy like mass market tea that's out there, and not against any other vendor or any other market. I just think that I've encountered even the EU, which is crazy in the regulations. Um, you know, we were able to figure it out, but the UK we have not been able to figure out. So we'll see. One day it's going to be glorious, and we're going to get it through, and we're going to hold a party. Questions over here. When are the Sister Eye big cakes going to be available? Very soon. This summer. I believe they're already shipped. I think they're shipped and they're on their way out. And we're going to have 357-gram cakes of all of the everyday varieties, and then 250-gram cakes of the more premium ones. And it's going to be great. I don't know the exact prices, but it's going to be something like a 30% discount off of buying them if you bought the same amount of tea, like 7 small boxes. Where are my boxes? Oh, yeah. So like this small box has the 50-gram tea in it. So it's going to be something like 30% off compared to if you bought 7 of these. Maybe even more than that. We actually have pretty significant saving by not needing to make 7 boxes and 7 cards and 7 stock keeping units. And like there is some pretty good savings that we can get to you guys on that because of you guys being willing to buy more of it. It's really surprising that I haven't done it earlier, but the problem is I worry it's going to cannibalize it. I paid all this money to have all of these, and I still have tons of these in the warehouse. So it kind of hurts to pay more money for tea I already have so that people can buy it and then not buy these. But I'm here to service you, and everybody said they wanted them. And so this is me overbuying these is my inventory problem, not your problem. And the tea is obviously excellent, which is why people want more of it. So that's great. Tips for taking care of tea cakes in humid areas. Just got Doido's 2010 Reserve tea cake later this month. It's a little hard. If you want to be like super professional about it, you kind of need a dehumidifier. I don't think it'll be that bad for you, but like keep it in a place that's not super humid and hot. Keep it somewhere cool. Keep it somewhere out of direct sunlight. Keep it somewhere where there's not a lot of other funky smells. You've done what you can. I went to Vietnam and I did tea stuff in Vietnam, and I went to see a guy who runs a tea company in Vietnam. He has a whole room of his house that's running 4 dehumidifiers all year round so that his tea can age better and it won't go rotten. You're not running industrial scale anything, I assume. So I think you should be fine doing what I said over there. So yeah, give a couple more minutes. I have one more steep. By the way, this one steep of the Moonlight White, as you can tell, has lasted me quite a while. And it's one of the things I like about the Yunnan white teas is because they mix the bud and the leaves together. You get the fragrance in the first couple steeps, and then as you get into the later steeps, it still has this really rich flavor from the leaves, and it doesn't give up the ghost. It keeps kicking, it keeps going, it keeps steeping, and you can get a lot of tea out of this. Cheers. Yeah, it still smells excellent, but it's not as fragrant as it was in the first steeps. And also, if you see, the color is starting to weaken a little bit. It's still it's still deeper than the wash, but it's kind of coming back towards the color of the wash because we're on steep like 8 or 9 or something like that. One or two more questions here. What about a full-size tome? Maybe one day, but the problem with a full-size tome is it costs a lot of money, and like if I don't sell them, it just sits there. So maybe one day. Is there a my car slow says, is there a specific way to gift a tea set? No, I don't think there's a specific way. I would say it'd be a classy thing to do to make sure that they have everything they need. So if you want to give, for instance, a tea tray and a tea set, I have items on my shop that have tea trays and sets together. If you want to, you can think about the aesthetic choice of your friend. Are they the type of person that's going to want something that's like really clean, just pure white? Are they going to want stuff with art on it? What type of material might they like? I mean, think about it as you would give any other gift. And then also, I would say we have a lot of tea trays, tea set and tea sampler combos. If you have the extra money for the gift, think about getting tea and the tea set together. So their first day, they don't need to think about anything. It's already there. They get to set it up. They get to make the tea. They don't need to worry about going and figure out what tea do I need to get now. So that's a good idea. And again, the mini tone sampler, there's 7 tea coins in here. It's beautiful. They're hand wrapped in Yunnan. It's 7 teas from the same mountain. it's like this is 25 extra bucks. So like that's like you don't need to buy them pounds and pounds of tea. But I think that if you can get the tea and the sampler together, that's a good way of doing it. Here we go. Questions over here. I'm drinking the 2012 big old tea cake right now. Delicious. It's good stuff, man. Um, somebody saying white tea is usually very smooth, and if you oversteep it, the off strong taste you taste is not astringency or bitter. Yeah, if you were to oversteep this, it's almost a little bit too. Wouldn't say. I mean, the term in Chinese they use is like 药香, like medicinal flavor. It can get too medicinally, too herbally, but it's usually not too bitter. Um, that's very rarely the problem with the white tea being oversteeped. And somebody asked way back at the beginning of their live stream what they should get if they like sweet tea, and I recommended this white tea, green tea. It's all going to be sweet. Some types of red teas, some types of oolongs. The lighter, more fragrant oolongs are very sweet. We'll go with that. One or two more questions. Here we go. Jesse, do you steep oolong a little bit longer than others? That's from Teflon John. Not usually. Rock tea, like the very kind of dark roasted oolong from Wee Mountain, that steeps very fast. That's like 5 seconds, 7 seconds. The Taiwanese oolongs, like the lighter, kind of more fragrant Taiwanese oolongs, the Alishan milk oolongs, that sort of stuff. I don't know, 30 seconds, 45 seconds if you really want to. In the beginning, when it's unfurling, you can give it a little bit more time. Once it's like unfurled and it's open, you may not even need that 30 seconds. Just go for it. So it really depends on like again, the tea making. This is part of why it's called gongfu tea. Gongfu means skill. You show your skill by the way you make the tea. Part of that is that as the leaves open, you might want to bring down the steep temperature to keep it more stable, or keeping the steep temperature steady, you're going to have like very different feelings between each cup. Neither of those is better than the other. It depends on what you like to drink and what type of experience you want for yourself and for everybody else. So. Whiskey Smooch says, "Can any tea be made into a resin?" You can try, but there's a reason why I don't sell white tea resin or green tea resin or raw pu'er resin, and it's because the more light and fragrant the tea is, the more it kind of loses during the resin process. Those high fragrances don't hold up as well. You don't lose all the fragrance, obviously, but you lose some of it. Also, I found that it tends to be a little bit burnt tasting if you do it poorly. And Sister I has made white resin for me and raw pu'er resin, and I don't sell them because I don't think they're up to this quality of the four that we sell. But believe me, if I can get one that is up to there, I will definitely be putting it on the site because I think everybody would love it. I would love it. But the ones that I've had now, I feel a responsibility because if I say, hey, Sister I's a new tea resin, I know a lot of people will buy it. It really has to stand up to the scrutiny. And I don't want to just dump other stuff on you. And I'm certainly not going to buy resin that's made by somebody else and then just repackage it. Great questions. I think I'm about questioned out. I think I've been on here for over an hour. Yeah. So it was great to hang out with everybody. Hope you have a great weekend. Happy July 4th holiday to our friends in America. I encourage everybody to celebrate. Some people don't feel like celebrating. I think it is important you celebrate and show people like why you want to be celebrating America and not just allow anybody who's waving a flag to say they're a patriot. You're a patriot because of the way you act and the way that you work and support your country, not because you wave a flag or do anything like that. So go wave the flag if you want. Otherwise, there are many other ways to celebrate being American, and everybody can do it in their own way, which is the best part about being American, is that nobody can tell you what America is or isn't, including other Americans. Excellent. So feel free to disregard everything I said. That's your right. I'm very excited about the August subscription box coming up in not that long now. And I'm going to be on the East Coast visiting family and seeing friends for 2 weeks in July. So I may be posting a little bit less frequently, but I'll let you guys know about that. Either way, the shop is still going to be continuing to run. our warehouse team is still going to be shipping, and we're going to be getting new restocks in July, which were kind of our post Chinese New Year restock. Those are going to be coming in. So very, very cool. Have a great one. Great to see everybody. Drink more tea, enjoy, and have a good one. Bye bye.